All right, folks, welcome to this afternoon's presentation. I gave a presentation earlier today, but we're going to follow that up with creating some, showing different ways that we might create some content using SolidWorks Composer. 3D Via Composer is the product that we've been selling for some time now, and as of this week, we're starting to roll out the renaming, the rebranding of 3D Via Composer into SolidWorks Composer. We'll see that available to us in the next coming service packs of SolidWorks. I'll be at the SolidWorks booth later tonight if you want to come by and we can talk about that coming up. As a quick reminder, there is a lot of sessions on SolidWorks Composer throughout this week. There was a hands-on session earlier today. We've got another one here at 4:30 after my session, and then a handful of other sessions over the course of Tuesday and Wednesday. I encourage you to attend any and all of those sessions. I'm presenting in the Managing Composer content tomorrow morning as a plug for myself. So to get started here today, I pulled this quote out of Wikipedia. As accurate as Wikipedia could be, the technical illustration is the use of illustration to visually communicate information of a technical nature. And I felt that was a fairly accurate concept for what it is that we're trying to do. We have 3D CAD data that we're working with to create engineering and manufacturing content for, but now we're looking at using that data, that 3D CAD data, for other uses outside of just engineering, whether they be for manufacturing instructions, maybe it's for videos, maybe it's for product documentation, service manuals, catalogs, whatever it is that you might need images that communicate your product to a reader, to your audience, whomever that may be. So naturally, there's all kinds of ways of creating technical illustration. This is I took a screenshot of a Google image search on illustrations, anywhere from your simple line art to, well, all kinds of different possibilities coming out of that. Google search is fantastic here. Different kinds of illustrations that we might have consist of maybe sketches. Maybe there are renderings. Perhaps they're actually simply photographs of the products that we might be using for other purposes. Or even leveraging the use of an HDRI rendering or a PhotoView 360, for example. We've got a lot of different possibilities available to us, even photographs. So now, when we start to talk about creating technical illustrations, maybe you're creating a hand drawing of something that you're trying to work up to communicate an idea. If we have a look, if we dive into this a tad, we'll see that how the heck can this work? First off, as far as this fitting fixture, and oh, by the way, we've got completely different units of measure on this document. And I don't know about you, but I don't know how I'm going to get 3.14 nuts on that on those bolts. So that 1.14 may be a little challenging. The question is, how did I get to these? I mean, these are all different kinds of things. A rectangular extrusion bracket. I'm still not sure what that one is. Simple searches, some things. What's up with this? I mean, we're trying to communicate ideas, and then we've got data that's completely inaccurate, both from the rendering point of view as well as the text point of view. And if we can, our goal with Composer is to help communicate better with our audience so that we don't have to write all this extra stuff, so that we end up with more accurate information. So today we're going to have a look at a handful of different areas within the product. We're going to compare various techniques that we're either using today or are available to us within 3D Composer, SolidWorks Composer. It's a new product for me too. I'll have a look at leveraging some of the techniques in SolidWorks Composer so that we can take advantage of some of those that we're just talking about. We'll amp up some of those images that we're looking at, and then see what else is available to us within SolidWorks Composer. So as a starting point, let's take a look at the comparison of some of those techniques. I first mentioned the use of sketches. These are fantastic uses of communicating an idea. You're drawing down, you've got the initial concepts, and you want to show that concept. It can convey a nice set of messages. To be sure, we're not leveraging any of our 3D CAD data, but at the same time, it gives us a nice idea for perhaps a marketing document, or even just for proof of concept for your investors. We could also go as far as using an illustration package like Adobe Illustrator or other tools to create some nice renderings of our models in order to show additional information. Of course, perhaps we've brought this model in from a CAD system and then followed it up by adding a lot of additional text and a lot of additional annotations to that scene, just so we can communicate all the different aspects of that product. Here's some examples of photographs that have been used. Now, to be sure, in this case, and all the cases prior to this, we're talking about taking either a finished product or a concept and using that for our communication ideas and what we're going to show to our audience. The question is, what happens when we're changing those things? What happens when we go to the next model version of that product? Are we going to have to redo all of that work? Up until this point, we will have to redo everything that we've done. We don't have any access to that existing data. We actually have to, in these cases, manufacture them, make sure they're all set, get the lighting out, get the photographer set up in order to take the photographs. Now, to be sure, Surveilla made it very easy. They just went to a shop and took a picture. So that's relatively straightforward. Taking this picture, while it looks like it's a photo view shot, I've seen them create these pictures, and quite honestly, they've got fish lines holding the bike up in a white background and taking a photo shoot. But as much time that spent just to create that picture, we probably could have done it in the computer and got a nice results regardless. Of course, the golf clubs are sitting in front of a backdrop as opposed to actually being out there on the course. So then we switch over to the use of PhotoView 360 and some of the HDRI rendering packages. You can get some fantastic images coming out of PhotoView for creating some images. I actually got a kick out of when doing my Google search that I found this one. This is an environment map that comes with SolidWorks, right? So they literally just used the SolidWorks environment map and put this cart right in the middle of the factory floor as the example, as opposed to these others which are simply putting a white background, kind of simple lighting for the models. These are all fantastic. Now, I contend that they're great to create nice, good-looking images for various purposes, and to be sure, a lot of people do. But I'm talking about SolidWorks Composer here, and these products, whenever I've created a photo view image, I set up the scene, and then the problem I have is I hit go on the render, and then I come back after getting 2 or 3 coffees, and it's still working on it. At least on my machine it is. I don't have the access to a network rendering system, so. But these are possible. These are things that you can do. Now, if I have a change to this model, I have to go back and do that whole process again. It takes a bit of extra time. So what we'll do is take these concepts and bring it to the next level. Have a look at it and how we might work with SolidWorks Composer with respect to these techniques. So let's leverage some of those particular techniques within SolidWorks Composer here. And we'll go switch over to this guy here. Now, I started out by talking about different kinds of rendering styles that are available to us. And when we see these images over here on the left side, they're basically just snapshots, scenes that we're setting up. And the nice thing about Composer here is that I can save the settings of a scene and then move on to the next one. And if I need to go back and change it, I can return to that. So I'll give you an example of just that. So as a starting point, we'll go ahead and change this guy out to perhaps a nice silhouette image. And I can take a snapshot of that guy. So now I basically have a frame that I can work with. This is basically my page. Maybe I want to change that over to using construction edges. So the actual geometry, the face edges that you would see in SolidWorks, they're coming over to us within the scene. And if I want, again, I can update that view and the model will keep track of it. If I wanted to reactivate a view, I simply drop that in and I'm on my way to working with that particular scene again. Equally, if I want to work, perhaps I want to show this in more of a technical view, maybe a flat view. I can show the model in just that manner. So take a snap. Perhaps I want to go even further with this idea, and instead of having the black outlines, I'm going to change that over to a white outline. And we'll bump up the size of the lines a bit. Of course, that's getting kind of hard to see, so let's change this over to something that might look like, and just change the color of everything. And now we've got basically a nice, maybe a blueprint, right? Maybe we want to use that as our image that we want to work with. Of course, the cool part about this is I can go back to this guy here and say, yeah, you know what? I don't like that orientation. I've got it in a bunch of different things. Maybe I need to see it just a little bit rotated over. I can take care of that and go back and update my view with this. So we can get a lot of things done with this and have these different views. And when I go to render them out and pass them over to the person that just asked for those views, maybe my marketing group, and they wanted a slight change, I can hand them not just one, but 5 or 6 views straight away. And so it makes for a nice, quick process. Of course, we've got our shaded view. I've got my blueprint view. Let's go even a step further then and show this perhaps in a custom rendering view. So I'm going to go ahead and select all these guys and choose to have everything rendered as a silhouette. But I've been asked to actually highlight the grinding wheel assembly itself. So let's go ahead and select that grinding wheel. Wrong one. Let's go with this one. And I'll pull this guy out as well. So let's change that rendering style back over to my shaded, so that now I can show that in context, but actually show the scene with what I'm looking for. You know what? I'm going to go even one step further with that and add the motor assembly in there as well. Maybe that was part of the oops, not the motor assembly, but the rotor itself. We'll add the shaft. Here we go. So the idea here being that I can give some context to the rendering and have these different views, different scenarios that we can use as possibilities. And as the author here, of these images, I have in my back pocket the ability to choose these different styles, and I can pull them out as I needed to. Now, of course, this grinder right now is completely out of context. So rather than showing just the grinder, let's put it into give it some context. So I'm actually going to pull in a couple of extra models, one of which I literally got about an hour and a half ago from GrabCAD. So it's always a lot of fun to pull stuff from GrabCAD. It's a beautiful source of content, at least as far as I'm concerned with respect to Composer. And yeah, we'll just merge that pedestal in. So now I've got, in my scene, I've got this pedestal. I'll go ahead and grab my grinder and just put it into place on top of that pedestal. It just needs to move up just a tad. Now I've got something in context with respect to my model.
Is there any mating ability so that you can make the bottom of the grinder with the top?
Yeah, I mean, we've got mating is let's call it an engineering term. Well, we're all engineers here, right? So, in some way, shape, or form. I do have the ability to select and align plane to plane items, and it'll bang it into place. Whoops, picked the wrong plane. It's all good. Let's try that one again, shall we? Get me off course here, and we have no idea where I'm going to head. It's all good. No. They're all. There we go. There's no mating whatsoever within Composer, and I get that question fairly frequently when I'm starting to talk about Composer. The thing about it is, I don't find myself needing it because I'm not doing engineering work with Composer. I'm actually, for lack of a better word, creating pretty pictures. So if the picture shows and tells the story that I want it to tell, I'm okay with that. So you can tell at this point I've got 7 different views. I can reactivate any one of those, and the appropriate components come back into space when I need to. So it actually all works out fairly well for me. So what have I done? I've seen the ability to leverage some techniques with respect to the rendering. I mean, those techniques of showing different kinds of rendering styles. I can get us close to having a photorealistic image, and the next segment here, we'll actually see some of these additional items coming into play. But the idea here is that I can leverage that data, and I can quickly and easily create a whole series of different options for the people I'm generating the content for, and then get back to my engineering work. If I'm the engineer and I'm doing that work, I need to be able to get back and do the real work as opposed to this fluffy stuff, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I'm selling this product, so who knows? All right, so let's amp that up. What do I mean by that? I mean, basically, how do we take that to the next level? What kinds of things can I add to my scene that I've done? Right now, all I've done is I've added a separate component. Now I added a pillar to that bench grinder. But imagine if you had your assembly there. You could take, maybe I could bring in tooling. I could bring in fixtures to show a step in an assembly process. Or if I'm creating an operator's guide, perhaps I need to add in some images that reflect the need for safety glasses. Maybe I need to reflect the need for caution through adding bitmaps or arrows and annotations. So there's a lot of things that we can do within this tool. So I'm going to head over to back over to my original view. Now we'll stick to my pedestal one. That works for me. All right, so I've got my pedestal, and you saw on that last slide there that I had applied an environment map to to the case there. I've got an aluminum style. Maybe that works as what we need for the model. Go ahead and add that in there. Perhaps it's instead of that case. Maybe we want to actually use a different map. And so, let me grab my generic maps folder. So I've created a series of different maps. Perhaps it's, we'll just add an environment map here. Now I created this environment maps literally off of using SolidWorks. Oops, that didn't work for me. Oh, I know, I need to do it one at a time. That's good. Yep, it's not going to work for me that way. It's all good. And so the idea behind this, of course, is that we're creating content for. There we go. There it is. So if we were to look at the courtyard environment map that SolidWorks provides for us for the real view, I actually took that and put it into a mapping for Composer here. Let me go ahead and reset this image here. Again, what things that we can add in there? I added my I added that pedestal. Maybe I'll add in a chisel to show that tooling in place. So I'm literally adding additional content to the scene for use for communicating ideas. And at any given time, I could just simply update the individual assemblies that I've been adding into it. In this case, I'm bringing in a part file directly as opposed to a previously generated composer file. And of course, it comes into play. I can now translate that guy around in space, maybe rotate him as appropriate, and really just show him in context with the rest of the scene. Yeah, show him. And we'll just go and do a free drag of where he is. We're close. Now, of course, I'm making it hard on myself. I could go into a multi-window view to help position and orient this chisel. I'm just going to leave it where it is, right in the middle of the grinding wheel. It's a bad issue right now, but we're good. All right, so I've got my chisel in place. I've got these other things. So let's actually have it focus in on just those items. So again, I'm going to select that the guard, the grinding wheel, and equally the chisel. And in this case, we'll take advantage of showing the selection, but ghosting everything else so that we can focus in on just that item. Now we're going to add a little bit of extra flair, if you will, to the scene. And perhaps we'll go ahead and add a little bit of glow to that scene. Does it make sense with respect to the chisel? Not necessarily, but at least we get an idea that we can adjust some of the way this looks with respect to the scene, and always create that additional scene or additional view to the model. Now, of course, I mentioned earlier that we could add other images to this guy. There's a nice image library. I'll go ahead and add a logo, or rather product title to the scene. And then we'll add an icon into the scene, place it where I need to, and then simply update my view. In fact, marketing says I need it in all my images, so I'll go ahead and update everything with the selected actor. So now in all of my views, I can head over to any one of them, and that object is already located in the scene, and it's ready to go. So again, that change can be applied on a global basis or on selected objects. Makes for a nice way of updating my content when I need it, in order to show the different examples that we might create within SolidWorks Composer. All right, so I've shown some various things. Of course, in this case, we're showing an image of safety glasses being required with a wrench, and exactly how you might turn the wrench to loosen up the nut. But what else is available to us? Well, I'm showing a bunch of static content, and really what's available to us is the ability to create not just static content, but also videos. In this case, it's a video of a car, and ultimately all I'm doing is I'm taking that individual view, putting it in the timeline, and I could actually have a handful of other views, drop those in the timeline to create the animation that I need within the scene. And actually, let me head over to Composer real quick, and we'll activate Well, actually, let's go ahead and add this scene to the beginning of the timeline. My chisel and the pillar were not available, so let's go ahead and add those. And quite honestly, in a very simplistic manner, I can go ahead and grab my ground, rotate the pedestal a tad, create a camera, and there we go. I lost my real estate on this thing when I plugged into the video. It's all right. So let me drag that out and invert my time selection so that now real quick I have just a simple video of rotating around within the scene. So this is a basic thing. I've just added a couple of keyframes within this animation, and of course the timeline is all out of whack, so let me move that over so that it's correct. So it's nice and clean as far as this rendering is concerned. So we get an idea of just the basic rendering. We can add some things where we can move some components around. Maybe if I want to go out to a given time period, I can select the grinder itself, maybe take it off the pedestal, go out a few seconds, move it over. Move it down a bit. And again, now I've added some timeline to it where I'm literally moving components around at the same time as the camera. So in a very short amount of time, I've created a simple video, which is where we get to this video, very similar kind of thing, where we've added some additional content, we've added some additional motion and positioning. Here's a company in Colorado that builds centrifugal pumps, and this video is on their support website for showing instructional videos for how to service their pumps, and it's very clear exactly the steps. They literally pulled out all the parts, put them on a virtual table, and then just started reassembling them, showing notes when appropriate in order to demonstrate exactly what's going on with the tool. So you can see both the rendering of where the parts are. We can see where the occasional use of annotations where appropriate to show the overall use of the product. And again, we don't need any documentation for this. The video is clear. They've actually published these out, put them onto YouTube so that they have access to it. They can point their customers directly to it. What else is available? We can create line art for your bill of materials, all kinds of different tools. So we've seen the different types of illustration that's available to us. We've seen some of the techniques that are available within Composer, adding some flair to the images that we are creating, and then some of the video and other content. I'm going to leave you with this video, which I'm going to pause it right here or so. Let me pull it back and ask you, what is that as a starting point? Any ideas real quick? It's a ship, yeah. All right, so the Westport shipbuilding at the bottom right corner kind of throws it off, but the cool part about this is these guys put together this video in the actual Composer portion of it. They put it together in a little over an hour or so. They spent 2 more hours rendering it and then recompiling it so that it was usable in this format. It's a fantastic use of Composer. There are some simple tools that help us to explode and then simply reassemble the components. And no, we're not using collision detection, if you can tell here. Although there is some collision detection add-in available to us in Composer. If we needed that, that is possible. But in this particular case, that did not exist. Now, I like the use of the television that just came up out of the box there, the cabinet.
There's no mating. How is it all coming together?
So it's coming together quite nicely in that we have a tool that's called Spherical Explode. And the way I would create this and the way I believe that they created it, they took the entire assembly, so every component in the system, when it comes into Composer from SolidWorks, has a spatial relationship to itself, so it's what's called a neutral property, a neutral state. So, and that state is exactly where that component resided in the assembly at the time that it comes in from the CAD system. We can call it whatever, regardless of CAD system. What they did was they took the entire assembly, moved it off into space, and then they took what we call a spherical explode, which takes at the center of the bounding box and explodes everything literally straight out. And then what they did was they took the hull itself, shifted it back to its neutral state so that it's sitting there. Every component, you see them coming in as units of things. What they've done is they've simply animated, given a timeline saying, at this particular point, that subassembly we know where the initial starting point is, we know where the final position is. And Composer figures out how to get it from that point to that point. And basically, all we did for this was to say, all right, this subassembly, you go back to your original position. This subassembly, go back to your original position, and so on until it's done. And it's just one step after another. And in fact, that's very similar to what Wilfley did for their centrifugal pumps. They simply moved everything out away from what they needed to, and then just said, all right, you go back to the neutral state. And Composer figured out how to move it to that point. And it's just a simple line. It just goes, all right, you want it here, now it goes here, boom. So it's a very similar kind of thing. We can add additional keyframes in between to do the rotation that we need to. And in fact, Composer gives us the ability to create a smooth path, so it's not just a straight. I can actually have it go along a Bezier curve if I wanted to, so from one keyframe to the next. You have a question here?
Interpolation is basically time-based, so you can swing it. You just said that.
Right.
Can you slow down the speed of the entire model once you, or the animation, once you have it completed?
The speed up and slow down, yeah. In fact, earlier what I did, and I'll come back to my video if it's still running. We'll see. You saw that I did a selection of a series of keyframes in here, and I did a control drag of that selection. I actually have control handles at either end that allows me to actually change the time length of that. So I can do that with any of the keyframes that I like. So that allows me to speed up or slow down, and there's additional options to add blank time, if you will, between at a given location. So I can extend that period of time if I needed to. Yeah. And to be sure, we actually have, there are, in this particular case, there are filters. You can filter on specific keyframes. If you've selected a particular object, you can filter on that selected object and perhaps its location keyframes. So if you've got a fairly complex timeline, you can filter on just that one and then make the adjustment, the same kind of adjustments just for that component and not mess with everything else around it. So, yeah. And again, that's, at the end of the day, that's where we come to this guy. As I said, they threw this together because we were like, we need something. This was 5 years ago for SolidWorks World. When we first introduced Composer at SolidWorks World, these guys were like our keynote presentation, and we needed something in there. All right, we'll throw it together. That was Saturday, and they had a Monday presentation kind of thing. So, yes, go ahead.
I remember it was clip art like the NC graphics, Imager and Sage, those kind of.
We have a small selection, but I quite honestly go to Google Images on a fairly regular basis for some of that, for the generic kinds of things, to get something that I need for my own purposes. So, yeah. Not as much. I haven't seen it as much over that way as in vector format. So, the image library that we have right now is purely bitmaps that we have. So, but there isn't any reason why you couldn't create those. In fact, I've created EPS files from within SolidWorks in the drawings, and then use those for line art in Composer. So, yeah. Is it possible to show liquid flow? Liquid flow is a bit of a, the answer directly is no. I can really fake it though. The idea behind it is, that was a good model. See, I was actually literally on GrabCAD earlier today. So, all right. So, liquid flow. How would I do that in Composer? Let me go back to time 0, and I'm going to turn off the play of the camera so I can do some things with this guy. Set it to. All right, so I've got my things. I'm actually going to drag. Let's see, I can't drag and drop it. I'm going to have to. Let's turn that off. We'll just click on the model. I will turn on the texture I want. There we go. Enable a texture, and let's add my cracked earth texture. Okay. So I've got this guy here, and we will go over to my textures location, and we're going to go into texture translation mode. So we've got my texture, and I'm going to go out to here, and then we'll just simply move the texture up, move it up a bit. And so now, if we look at it, we've got that. So now I've taken cracked earth. I could take some water or other fluid type, murky water in this case here, move it up the thing, and now it looks like I've got flowing water if I needed to. So it's a way of showing it. There's a podcast that's available that shows us ways of showing fluid going through a series of pipes, and then perhaps filling up a tank and such. There's a little bit of trickery involved with it, but we're not necessarily worried about the engineering accuracy in that regard. We're interested in showing a concept of what's happening at that point. So I'm okay with that. Other questions? All right, very good. So this was the session that we had today. Tomorrow, I just canceled right on out of it. That works. Tomorrow we have additional slides. Whoops. We have additional sessions, as I said, tomorrow. One on managing all this content tomorrow morning. Chris Narveson of CSI Cardiovascular Systems from the Minneapolis Composer User Group is going to be speaking at 1:30. There's a couple of nice examples in our hands-on sessions tomorrow as well. And then the animation, there's more on animation on Wednesday. So again, those are some great sessions for working with composers. So, all right, very good. Thank you.